Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar from the Great White North, Canada. Literally, like out in his car, we got Jay Emmons, guitarist from the Glorious Sons. Quick shout out and thank you to Chrissy Borsellino for setting this up. I appreciate it. Let me give you the cliff notes on Jay. He founded the Glorious Sons in 2011, and his brother Brett joined up shortly afterwards as the lead singer. Band plays good old-fashioned rock and roll, man, like high-energy barroom rock and roll. They're from Kingston, Ontario, Canada, which, as you can see, that's probably where he's at right now.
Yep.
And since 2013, they've released 1 EP and 4 albums, including their latest record, Glory. The band's toured Canada, Europe, and the States. They've had 13 singles in the Canadian top 10 charts, including 4 number ones, which is pretty freaking amazing. And if you want a good introduction to the band, check out Sawed Off Shotgun, which is a heavy song lyrically, but a really fun song musically, as is Speed of Light off the new album, Glory. The band also opened for the Rolling Stones, which is really cool. Jay, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the environment that you're in, man.
Oh, good.
What were you doing musically before you guys started the Glorious Sons?
I've been in bands pretty much from the time I was maybe like 12 years old. I'd always be the one kind of putting the band together. And I was a singer actually before really the Glorious Sons. I always was the lead singer in the band, and I really wasn't much of a guitar player because I always played with my good buddy Monty, who was a really good guitar player. So I would just lean on him and play the chords and sing. And then as soon as Glorious Sons came along, we had our first guitar player, Andrew, actually sang a lot initially, and I sang a bit. And then Brett came along, and it was like, we don't need 3 singers in a rock band. So
Sure.
So I just started focusing more on playing guitar and singing backups with the Sons, and then that's kind of how that all came together. But obviously, when you get a guy like Brett in the band, you're like, all right, we,
Oh, he's a hell of a singer, dude. I mean, he's just, he does it, man, for sure. Is it weird, or is it like, do you guys act like brothers in the band? Like, you know how brothers all have these patterns of, I was telling you my kids are 31 and 33, but at times they'll get together for dinner here and it's like they're, 15 and 17 again.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird being business partners and brothers and friends all at once because there's obviously a lot of emotion and turmoil and like just the fact that you're in a rock and roll band and it's stressful and you're touring and you're not sleeping, you're drinking and all that, it's kind of like this like perfect storm, and Brett and I really over the years had to work on how to navigate these different kind of facets of our life together to make sure that we're not freaking out and beating each other up,
that's what I'm thinking, right? Because you get emotional with your family, you that you would never have those emotions with people that aren't, your brother.
And, the good thing about Brett and I is that like we always come back and say sorry, and there's never a line that's been crossed that's too far. It's not like like Oasis or anything like that. We it gets like, the last time we had a huge blow up, like both of us were so distraught about the fact that it happened that, that hurt way more than anything else. The next
That's
day,
good, though.
Like, we were just like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe this happened. We're better than this, and we're both like tearing up. And it was just like one of those moments where it's like, man, we're not meant to be doing this. We have such a great relationship and so many good things going on around us that, there's no need for this kind of stuff.
Well, that's actually good that you guys felt that way. And that's better than not, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So once the band was founded, what were some of your challenges early on as far as getting things moving along?
It started off like it's just like we were a bar band. We had this residency here in Kingston, and it started off as fun. We would just, go down to Brandy's every Thursday night. I'd pack the gear in the back of the work truck. we'd go down there, load in at 5 and start drinking, get on stage at 8 and, you know, leave the bar at 2:30 in the morning and go back the next morning, pack the gear up and go to work kind of thing. And we actually started getting like a pretty decent, like kind of Thursday night following locally. And then it was like, okay, like people actually are digging this. So then we'd start, you know, heading up to Ottawa and Toronto and doing these shows. And then we actually kind of won a few like Battle of the Bands types things that
Oh, that's cool.
That really kind of created a good spark for us. You know, the first big spark for us was winning this kind of contest, where it was a Battle of the Band situation, but it was being judged by John Angus and Jack from the Trues, who are a really successful Canadian rock band, and who I was absolutely obsessed with also, like growing up. So, you know, kind of like a really like kick yourself moment when John Angus was like, "Hey, I picked you guys to win, but hey, what about if I produced a couple songs for you guys?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh yeah, okay, I'm into that." And meanwhile, I have no idea what that even means. Like,
Right.
you know?
Of
So,
course.
you know, that turned into him helping us make Mama, which was the first track that he produced. And then subsequently, we did the rest of the Shapeless Art record with John Angus. And then we did the Union with John Angus as well. So, you know, that was our first major big break. And then while all that was going on, we won a radio contest at Hits FM. It was called Rock Search. And we had put Mama out to go to radio. And we won this contest. And then all of a sudden, people were requesting it on the radio.
Oh, that's so nice.
On Hits FM. And then all of a sudden, it kind of like started leapfrogging, and all these small kind of tertiary radio stations were starting to add Mama. And then all of a sudden we got added in Vancouver. And then all of a sudden it started this kind of, you know, slow burn fire effect where we're in the top 10 and we don't have management. We don't have a label yet. We don't have an agent yet. And then we're like, holy shit, like this is really something, you know? So yeah, Mama really connected with people in this country, and I think in the US as well, but we really didn't have the infrastructure at all to kind of tackle that at that point. But that was kind of our big couple of breaks that really started things in that direction where we're like, you know, maybe this is more than just a fun pastime, that we can go play our show or our songs for our friends on Thursdays and play the odd gig out of the city here and there. Then all of a sudden we're getting gigs kind of everywhere, and we got a manager on board, and we start booking shows with these other bands, and it kind of just grew from there.
So having started playing music and putting bands together as a kid, when this started to happen to you, it must have felt like incredible. Probably something you never expected.
Yeah. No, it's like you're kind of winning the lottery, you know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, in music, definitely.
And I was a little bit old for this too. I was like 27, 28 at the time. So, you know, I knew it was kind of my last kick at the can with Glorious Sons. And I personally took it more seriously than I had in the past.
Sure. Yeah. Was it a tough, like, because you were 27, 28, did you have like sort of like a debate with yourself? Like, you know, I'm sure you were doing something else outside of the band that was maybe starting to move you in a direction.
Yeah.
Career.
I mean, I was a general contractor, so I was doing pretty well for myself as a young guy, but there was no hesitation. It was like, all right, you know, do I get to be touring around the country playing rock and roll or installing flooring? I was like, I think flooring's always going to be there, but this rock and roll thing is pretty fleeting. You know?
Good for you, man. Congratulations. That's a really nice story, man. Hey, I'd like to talk about a few of my favorite Glorious Sons songs. off Young Beauties and Fools. Thank you for saying goodbye. Beautiful track. And if I understood the lyrics right, it's about having gratitude that a dysfunctional relationship is finally over. Is that what that one is about?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean that whole record was kind of geared around a certain relationship that Brett had, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that. That's the first time I've ever heard someone kind of describe that song in that nature, but I think that's pretty much sums it up for sure.
Well, I've had a lot of dysfunctional
Yeah,
relationships.
yeah, yeah.
So maybe that's why. Panic Attack from A War on Everything. What a cool, really cool, upbeat song. I was curious, is that about a literal panic attack or about someone going through withdrawal or both?
I I don't ask Brett these questions because I think it annoys him when he gets asked what his songs are about. I mean, I'm sure he would tell
Oh,
me
okay.
if I wanted to, but I always kind of just want to. I leave it up for interpretation, but I think my understanding of panic attack is from an experience with one of our friends who was literally just going through a panic attack at the least opportune time, and
Yeah.
it kind of inspired um, the rest of the song. And I think another huge inspiration of that song for Brett is the fact that like everybody goes through that kind of and um, I think it's pretty universal as far as mental health goes these days, that you know everybody has their own kind of battles that we're all
Yeah.
kind of going through, and I think it kind of just maybe helps bring that to the surface that you're not alone in that kind of battle, even if it's you in your own head.
Sure. Great track, man. Then Pink Motel, also off A War on Everything. Your brother's vocal performance in that
Yeah,
song,
it's unreal.
oh, it's just so emotional, man. It's just
Yeah.
awesome. But in general, the music is just such a great buildup. You guys did a wonderful job on there. Tell me the backstory to how that one came together. Hey guys, ever wish you could get involved in music licensing and start collecting ongoing royalties for placing your tracks in movies, commercials, trailers, and video games? Well, now you can. Simply check out this new free training video called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business. You can find it online at musicreboot.com, and this video shows you how to create the financial stability you've always wanted and how to take advantage of the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing due to the current situation of streaming and the internet. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com. Whether you've never made a placement before, or even if you've made a few placements, but you don't have a specific system to make ongoing placements more consistently, this video's got you covered. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com.
Well, that one was, a lot of Brett and Fred, who's produced the last 3 records, kind of vibing off one another, and the same kind of relationship that we were mentioning in with "Thank You for Saying Goodbye." That was kind of like, I don't know, maybe like the catharsis track that kind of
Yeah,
just like the door's closed. It's like this is it. I don't know, like that's what Pink Motel is to me. It's like just letting it all out one last time, and that's the end of the chapter.
phenomenal. It's a great track, man. And then Speed of Light from the new album Glory. Again, great song lyrically, and your brother doing his thing. How did that one come together? Because I noticed there was like a lot of writers on that song.
Yeah, that one came together. We had started working on that as a group at first during the pandemic. We would set up like these mobile studio sessions at my house or at Brett's place, and then we'd go and record. We recorded a lot of songs during that kind of era, and Speed of Light was always one of those standout songs that we knew we had something with. So we had like a full on version of that song that we re-recorded for Glory. And Fred kind of just helped us smooth out the rough edges um, and kind of present it in its current form. So that one's been around for a while. And I know even before we started working on that song in like 2021, Brett had that one kicking around for a while. So
That's a great track, man. Really good. And I'm sorry that I have to ask you the next question because I'm sure you've been asked it like 100 times. But what was the experience like opening up for the Rolling Stones, and how did that even what's the genesis of that gig? How the hell did you get that gig?
We were lucky enough to be working with AG, and we had a good friend, Mark Norman, who was kind of taking care of our touring, and he also had, I'm not exactly sure what his relationship with the Stones was, but like AG takes care of the Stones, and they were taking care of us as well at the time, and Mark kind of connected the dots. So it's all, thanks to Mark Norman for that one, because that's honestly like one of those moments where you're like, holy shit. How does this happen to me? I grew up listening to these guys. My mom's favorite band is the Stones. It's like you never would think that you'd get to share a stage with them. And we shared the stage with them 3 times: Marseille, France, SoFi in LA, which was really cool, and then up here in Canada, north of Toronto. So it, pretty wild.
What was that? What was like? Did you get to hang with any of those guys or not? Or
it was like a typical meet and greet type hang.
Okay.
Their team had it set up so it was pretty formal.
Really?
They had a lady who would like come from our dressing room, usher you into this like kind of meeting room, but nothing was in there, completely empty room, except on the floor it was the Stones members' names printed out on computer paper and taped to the floor. So that's where they were supposed to stand when they came in. And then it was like Glory Sons member X was taped beside them. So like, we were kind of being herded into this room and told exactly where to stand.
A wedding.
Yeah. Exactly. Like a rehearsal type situation. And then of course the Stones come in and they pay no attention to any of that. And they're just kind of like walking around being like, oh, hey guys, and you get to say a quick hello and thank them for letting us on the show. But it was pretty casual at that point. And then we did a couple pictures and a couple more formalities, and that was it, in and out. But you got the sense of kind of all their personalities,
Right.
And it was pretty neat just to kind of be like, all right. So, I think most of what I had thought prior about them and their personalities kind of resonated with who they actually were, which is cool.
That's cool, man. Congrats on that, man. Well, that's a big, awesome thing, man. That's really nice. Jay, tell me the top 3 musical experiences you've had so far and what made them so memorable.
Ooh, top 3. I mean, the Stones and SoFi was one of my favorite experiences by far. Obviously, like the first 2 times we opened for the Stones, we were like deer in the headlights. Didn't have the best shows, technical issues, but like just kind of just very much in our heads, and we just weren't on the same league. We're playing leagues above where we should have been, and that's fine. But the third time we absolutely crushed it. And,
awesome.
It was in LA, which was also cool, and brand new SoFi Stadium. So that was a pretty cool night. The second one would probably be the night that we won that contest and John Angus had asked us to produce the record. That was a pretty important night as far as, where my life and the rest of the band's life is kind of
life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you kind of look back on it and you're like, oh, that not really a big thing. But then you look back on it again, you're like, wait a second, none of this happens if that doesn't happen,
Right.
So that one would be the second. And then there's so many like cool things that we've got to do, I mean, around the first Stone show, even though it wasn't our greatest performance, just being able to be in Marseille for a week,
Yeah.
that was unreal. I had my best buddy come out with me, and we toured around Marseille and hit the beach, and it was pretty rad. Like, that's probably, it's not really a musical experience, but a byproduct of a
Yeah.
musical experience, and one of my favorite weeks of my life for sure.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations again. That's really cool. I always like looking at those moments when you kind of trace something back and you say, well, this wouldn't have happened if that never happened. And it's very rewarding, actually, because
for sure.
Well, it lets you see, like, I don't know about you, but I tend to be like a little too hard on myself. So when you see something, you're like, well, maybe it's like an acknowledgement of yourself to recognize those things, which
Absolutely.
is always nice.
I think it's pretty easy to get caught up in everything that's going on and not really appreciate things as much as they deserve,
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a gratitude thing for sure, man. What was there a particular experience that was critical to you becoming a musician in general? Like, were your parents musical or?
No, like my best buddy in public school, I remember he got like this Yamaha, looked like a Strat, it was like a sunburst, tobacco burst kind of guitar. And then I was like, I want one of those too. And, my parents bought me this black Yamaha guitar. I had no idea how to use it, no idea how to tune it. It had like a floating bridge. So like kind of like very kind of quirky, intricate thing for someone who knows nothing about the instrument. And it had these like headstock locks that you couldn't tune the guitar unless they were unlocked. And anyways, just very kind of weird first guitar. And I spent the next like 2 or 3 years kind of learning like Jingle Bells and
Sure.
But all my buddies were playing like real songs, and I was like, man, I suck. And these guys are all playing like Green Day and Bush and all this stuff. I'm like, what's going on here? So eventually, I don't know what happened. I think we just kind of moved on from that guitar teacher, and I would say I mostly taught from playing with other people and just jamming by myself. And that's probably why it's taken me so long to kind of become efficient on the guitar.
Hey man, it's not the time, it's the where the whole journey is.
Yeah,
it seemed like you're doing all right. Open for the Stones. You don't have to worry. So you could be as inefficient as you want. You open for the Stones, man. Screw that. How many people get to say that?
Yeah, it's definitely a handful. We've had that conversation before where you're like, man, it's pretty slim, like the number of actual people in all of time who have
in all of time, right?
Yeah.
And they've been around 60 years.
Yeah.
So that's pretty badass, cool. Man. Yeah. Low points. What were some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through
them? In music or in life or?
In life.
In life. I mean, I think when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I think that's kind of a period of big change for a lot of kids as you're kind of transitioning from a high school kid to going to college and then becoming an adult. And I think I thought I was like pretty much invincible back in those days. And then I think we all kind of do. And then
everybody's
just one day there's this stark realization that you're not. And I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I didn't really know what depression was or mental health or any of that. I just thought I could do whatever I want and everything would be okay. So I went through a couple dark years, like in my early 20s, where I was just depressed and just like really screwed up and just trying to scrape by to get through every day kind of thing. But I have great family and great parents and, talk to some great therapists and all that stuff. And, try to avoid falling into those same pitfalls,
Yeah. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Glad you get out of that. Thank you for sharing that too, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Talk about gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other two would round out your top three?
I have a Gibson 335.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
That's pretty much the only one that I want to play on stage. I have a another Gibson that's like an exact copy, except it's a black guitar. They should be the exact same guitar, the same year, but the red one is like just, it's completely different and better than the black guitar.
Yeah.
The black guitar is still a good one, but so the red Gibson 335, and then
That's a special guitar, man. Because this one right here behind me, if that's my like, if there's a fire, that one's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I really understand that. It's just a magical instrument, man.
Yeah, I love that guitar for sure. We have this like Mexican Telecaster that I really like to use in the studio, and I should probably be bringing it on the road because it's a really good guitar too. And then I have my 57 Martin kind of parlor acoustic guitar that just kind of like just sits in my living room, and my girlfriend steals it all the time, and she plays it more than I do now. But
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
That's fun.
It's one of these guitars that like is ancient, but never goes out of tune, never needs an adjustment. You know, change the strings like twice a year, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's just reliable and feels good. That's
awesome. I've had like close to 950 guests on the show. I can't tell you how many people have told me about the Martin Parlor guitars they have.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody loves them. Ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back?
I'm not big on selling things, so no. A couple guitars are broken that I wish I could get back. But I think I like punched through one in a fight with my girlfriend once, and I was like, oh, why'd you do that?
Note to self.
yeah, note to self, your guitar is broken. Yeah, it wasn't a fancy, it was like a Yamaha, but it had like some sentimental value that I was like, you idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's the biggest mistake you ever make, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
You have a worst gig ever story?
Yeah, we have a couple. Probably more than a couple, really. Like, with the Glorious Sons, early on we were touring with a band called the Balconies. They're based out of Toronto, and it was our first ever kind of like 7-day run through southeastern Ontario, and we were like starting to feel the flow, getting pretty confident, and we had this like old school bus that we were touring around in, and we had like TV and video games, and you know, there's always a cooler of beer, and we were on top of the world, and we were playing this one gig in London, and there was like 6 or 7 bands on the bill, and I think we like spent the whole afternoon smoking weed in the bus. And that's,
that's another one. Note to self.
Yeah, not really typical of like all of us. Like we've got some guys that smoke pot, but like to smoke pot like that before a gig, especially for me, it's like no, there's no coming back. So about like maybe like 10-15 minutes before we're supposed to be on stage, we realized that we loaded in all of our gear and just left it backstage and haven't done anything. But in the meantime, 7 other bands have done the same thing. So there's like 15 guitar amps and
holy crap,
all these cases and all these guitars. We didn't even know where our shit was, let alone
be able to get on
stage. Yeah. You're just panicking. Yeah. And so it was the fact that we even got our gear on stage took an absolute miracle, and then the performance that followed was just horrific. So that was probably the worst one ever. And then another one that comes to mind is before we played with the Stones in, before we played with the Stones in Toronto, half of our crew had to be on site in Toronto setting up, and we were opening for the Struts in Denver the night before.
Oh, cool.
Which is sweet. but we thought we could get by without, half of our crew. And then it was just like technical difficulty after technical difficulty. One of my guitars, like I broke a string, and then my spare guitar was like downstairs in the green room, so I had to jump off stage, and all these little things went wrong. It was just so bad. Not nearly as funny as the first one, but
no, because you know what, man, weed today is not like weed when I was younger, man. Because like when I was younger, like, you would smoke a whole joint with your friends. If I ever tried to do that now, I couldn't leave I couldn't even leave my room. I don't think, man. It's so strong today, man. It's like, wow, I can't imagine smoking weed all afternoon. I would just,
yeah.
Wow.
No, it was not the right choice.
Give me your top 3 Desert Island discs, no particular order, and just for this moment, because that changes all the time, obviously.
Okay, for this moment,
yeah.
I think I'll go Stones Exile.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Isbell. What's that record called? The Nashville Sound. And then Steven Wilson Jr. What's his record called? What is it called? Have you listened to that record? Yeah.
Steven Wilson from Porcupine?
I think maybe he's got like a alt
from
country record.
Oh no, that's a different guy. I don't know Steven Wilson
Jr. Right now.
Yeah, man.
This record is the best thing I've heard in a really long time.
No, but I will check it out after you tell me since you recommend it.
What's the record called? Anyways, he put that out while we were on the road this fall.
Lost you for a minute. What was the name? No, it's cool.
The record is called Son of Dad by Steven Wilson Jr.
Son of Dad?
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. Thanks. I'll check it out. Tough question, man. What do you like most about yourself?
What do I like most about myself? I think maybe my ambition.
You're pretty driven?
I would like to think so.
Yeah. Most important thing your dad taught you?
How to work hard. How to be ambitious.
So that's where your work ethic came from.
Yeah.
My dad, cool, man.
Definitely, and my grandfather.
What do they do? What kind of work? Are they contractors as well?
Yeah, well, they had a family business, a welding shop. So my grandfather had it since the 70s, and my dad took over, and he still has it to this day, cool, even though he should probably just retire and go have some fun.
Yeah. Old habits die hard.
Yeah.
How about your mom? Most important thing your mom taught you?
I think probably the importance of family.
Any hobbies or interests outside of music, Jay?
Yeah, I like sports, like just trying to stay in shape, and the only sport I really play right now is squash, which is like
I've never played that. No, that's not a thing here.
No, you guys play racquetball, which is
yeah. Is it like squash?
Yeah, I just don't know how similar or different, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never seen anybody playing squash here in this country.
Yeah, I haven't seen a squash court.
Yeah. That's funny. I didn't even, like, for a second, I wasn't even sure what it was until you read the reference to rap. I'm like, I'm going through my head. I'm thinking, what the hell is squash? Very cool. Toughest decision you ever had to make, or most difficult thing you had to do?
Ooh. Huh. Toughest decision I ever had to make. That's a difficult question. I don't know if I can answer that, to be honest, but like, with the Glorious Sons, we always have to kind of make decisions that can, impact the next month, the next year, and like, are we going to go on tour and try to invest in Australia or Europe and spend, all of our money trying to break another market where, if we just stayed in Canada, we could probably pay ourselves a little bit better, but that
is a tough question. That's a tough one, man.
That's like the ongoing kind of battle for us and like a lot of Canadian musicians. But, I think for us, the prerogative has always been, let's obviously give our home country the justice it deserves and try to build elsewhere too. And that's still kind of our MO.
Is the cost for you guys to go to other countries? Because I talk to guys all over the world and they want to come here, and it's like completely prohibitive with visas and everything. Is it the same thing for you guys if you wanted to go to, let's say, UK or Australia or something?
Australia and UK. Well, Australia, first of all, is like a 16-hour flight. So, and then once you're there, you have to fly everywhere. You can't hop on a bus or a Sprinter van because the cities are so remote from one another. So when we have done Australia, you're up every day at 4 a.m, loading gear into a Uber to the airport and then getting on a flight, landing at like 10 a.m, go check into an Airbnb, go to sound check, and then it was
super pricey.
Yeah. It was cool to see Australia, but like definitely not something we're going to rush back to do unless it really makes sense. But for America, like it's not that difficult for us. It's just, knowing where we sit in the food chain in the US and understanding that we're not going to go down there and be profitable right now because we just haven't built the fan base yet. We've got some good pockets, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I hope this interview gives you more exposure. You guys are a great band. I really love to saying that. I don't really have. Yeah. Well, I didn't, honestly, I wasn't familiar with you guys before that this was presented to me, and I checked out the music. I'm like, hell yeah, I want these guys on the show. Nice. Yeah. Because I've had some people like, they're, hey, do you want these guys on the show? And I'm like, I can't, I'm not going to promote somebody if it's like soul crushing when I turn the music on.
Yeah.
And so I hope you guys do get some following here because you deserve it.
Just time. We've had some good traction, and we just need to keep at it.
Good, man. I hope you do. Last question, man, and I really appreciate your time, and thanks for being so cool and answering everything. And I feel so bad that you're sitting out there in the cold, man. Let me tell you,
it's all good.
You're a trooper. What's the thing in your life that's either making you happiest or giving you the most joy or satisfaction right now?
I think, my girlfriend and my daughter, and, my daughter's 2 years old now. So
that's awesome.
Watching her kind of turn into a human is pretty wild and pretty hilarious. It's a lot of fun. I think that's probably it. It's just like this surreal experience, kind of watching June just become this person who's like got this crazy personality.
That's awesome. It'll be nice once she gets older. You see, like, she'll have characteristics of her mom and characteristics of you, and that's really cool to see. And it's always interesting. Like, you don't know how those things happen. Even behavioral things. It's always like really special to see that, man. So congratulations, and enjoy that while you can, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, listen, let me tell people where to find you, and thank you very much for everything again. The band is the Glorious Sons. They are touring with Southall in going through the Midwest, and I wrote this down. I can't read my own writing. Where are you guys touring? The Midwest and
we're doing a handful of dates in the Midwest, and then we're doing like South Texas, a few dates down there.
Awesome. And everything is on the Glorious Sons webpage and also on Instagram and Facebook. You guys ever planning on coming down here to Florida? It's a tough state to tour.
There has been talk. We've done Tampa before. We played Ybor City's in Tampa, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Everybody plays Ybor, man.
Yeah. What's the club there? It looked like it's been there forever.
Crowbar.
Probably Crowbar. Is it pretty kind of grungy and like?
They're all pretty grungy now, to be honest with you. Crowbar is they have a couple of newer ones that are Ritz. That's not grungy though, but there's a few bars down there that are kind of all, you know, sort of divey.
Yeah. This one I remember like seemed to be like all painted black, and the green room was like upstairs overlooking the stage.
It was in Ybor. It wasn't in Janus.
No, it was for sure in Ybor the last time we were there.
Yeah. Don't know that. I don't know it off the top of my head. Well, man, I hope you do come down here because I'd love to see you play.
Yeah.
Anything else that you'd like to talk about or like to promote or anything else? Any other way I could support you here, man?
No, I think we're all good.
Great, man. Well, hang on one second. We'll wrap up. Thank you very much for everything. Stay warm, and I wish you continued success in everything, your personal life and with the Suns. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Jay Emmons for his time and his patience in sitting out there in the cold. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.